Chapter 11, the scene size up. The way we approach assessing what's wrong with our patients is kind of like a pyramid. We start at the top with the scene size up, determining what's going on, what resources we need. The next we do the primary assessment, what's going to hurt them right now if we don't fix it. And then the secondary assessment, how can we figure out what's wrong with them in general and treat them to bring them to the hospital efficiently. So we're going to start off talking about the scene size up, kind of get an idea of what's the 5 questions we need to answer during our scene size up pretty quickly, first minute or so. Is it safe to be there? Are there any hazards that I need to address? Anything I need to take care of? Do I have the right safety gear? Do I have my gloves, my eye protection, my mask? Do I need any additional safety gear? What happened? What kind of trauma, what kind of mechanism of injury happened, or what kind of nature of illness is occurring, or what combination of everything is causing the patient to need us to be there. How many patients? How many people are there that are going to need our assistance? They can be patients or they can be bystanders that may need some assistance, just as good patient advocates. So think about the number of patients, and with that you turn to, do I have all the resources I need? Do I need to call an extra ambulance, or do I need to call a professional therapy person like a chaplain service, or maybe specialized rescue group? So we're going to look for that and try to figure out, is it safe to be there? Do I need any additional gear? What happened to them? The nature of illness or the mechanism of injury? How many patients do I have, and do I have enough resources to handle everything I've found so far? Famous quote from Oscar Wilde from a play he wrote in the 1900s or 1800s. To expect the unexpected shows a thoroughly modern intellect. So the only predictable thing in emergencies is they're unpredictable. So always be aware, always be thinking about what's changing on your scene. No matter how comfortable you get, you need to be comfortable enough to expect that things are going to change for you. So as you get near a collision scene, look for other ambulances or fire trucks or police cars coming in at the same time. You always see reports on the firehouse.com website about 2 fire trucks meeting in the intersection, and both of them thinking they had the right of way, and then neither one made it to the scene. So look for that. Look for signs of power outages. I remember one time sitting in our station and the lights started to flicker on and off, and we started trying to figure out which direction the crash was going to be, because somebody had ran their car into a power system and caused an outage. And remember, that causes additional concerns for our safety, but that's something to give as a clue that something's not good. Observe traffic flow. The backup on I-25 tells you there's probably a crash somewhere upstream from there. Look for smoke. Look for the color of smoke and the amount of smoke. That's going to help tell you how bad things are. Anything that's not normal black gray smoke tells you there might be something you want to kind of stay upwind of. Look for hazardous chemicals, any gases that are coming out, any flames that don't look right. Look for victims on or near the ground. There was a scene in San Francisco, I believe, several years ago, where a Korean airline crashed, and some of the patients that were ejected from the plane during the crash were covered under the foam that the firefighters were using, and they're not sure if they died on impact or they were ran over by the fire trucks, but they didn't see them because of the obstructions on the ground, which made it even harder. Look for smoke, broken power poles, utility lines. Again, you don't know what kind of line it is until you touch it, and that's too late. Look for people walking towards the scene, walking away from the scene. Be aware of all your things. Especially important to know who's coming and going from the scenes, just so that the police officers, when they ask you, did you see anything, you've got some ideas to tell them. Look for other personnel at the scene. They might get in your way, or they might be giving you directions. One thing we always see driving up to scenes is a waiver. You see the 3 cars piled on top of each other, and then somebody waving their hands to make sure you know that that's the crash you're looking for. When you get to the scene, there is typically somebody there before you. Find out who's in charge. It could be one of the fire department personnel. It could be a somebody else from a facility that's in charge. But find out who's in charge. If no one's in charge, take charge yourself. Get the proper safety gear on. If you're doing anything that has any head dangers, put your head protection on, your bunker coat, your reflective vest. Sometimes sniffing for odors are good. Sometimes if you smell it, you've got yourself too close. But something that just doesn't right, or people that don't look right, back up and wait for help to get there. Look for dangers right around the wreckage. With more electric cars or hybrid cars going on the market, we've got some additional dangers from the electrified car bodies and the batteries. So there's some things you need to be aware of around those, and know which parts you can and can't touch. Highly recommend some of their classes they put on from Tesla on how to work around electric cars. If you want to set up a kind of a safe zone around your scene, if you don't see any hazards, 50 feet's good. If you have fuel spilling, 100 feet in all directions, just to be on the safe side. The other thing on fuel spills is try to prevent the really enthusiastic volunteer firefighter from lighting flares for you. To help control traffic, flares and gasoline don't mix well, and it could cause a little problem for you there in the long run. If there are vehicles on fire, stay back. You are not firefighters. If you are trained as a firefighter and you've got all the right gear and the fire truck to back you up and the airway protection you need as a firefighter, by all means jump in there. But if you are an EMS provider, you're not you're not trained for that, so stay away. If you see power lines, stay back to the pole where they were broken from. Uh, you want to be at least one pole length away from everything. Hazardous chemicals, use the emergency response guidebook. We'll talk about that in class, but it's the first 5-minute guide on what to do in case of an emergency with a chemical. Look for threats of violence. People yelling and screaming, fighting. Do not go in. You are not trained law enforcement. Weapons, definitely stay away. Alcohol, drug use. You want to avoid being around people in that. Here's the other one, and this one anybody that has children can understand. If it gets real quiet, you get nervous. If you expect to have noise, something's not right. Say, one time I went in to get coffee, and everybody in the restaurant was super quiet, and the waitress gave me way too much sugar in my coffee, and I knew something was wrong. So as I'm leaving, I kind of checked things out, and there was some problems going on in the restaurant. So pay attention to your surroundings there. Some places we know just have a history of violence. If you're going to a known bar that has a lot of violent encounters, make sure you have the right resources when you go. Although any call can present a potential safety hazard, what type of calls might pose the highest threats of potential violence? Think about that one, and we'll talk about that in class. Anytime we need our personal protective gear, we're going to start off with BSI, body substance isolation. That's going to be your gloves, your face mask, your eye protection. So any time we start, we're going to say we've got our PPE on. BSI is the main focus of that, but we're also going to look, do we need any face shield? Do we need a gown? Do we need a helmet, a jacket? What other protective gear do we need? Once we determine it's safe and we have the right PPE, then we're going to start looking at the nature of illness. Why did they call us? Why are they sick today? Have they been sick for the last month? And then what's the mechanism of injury? So the mechanism of injury is how much force is applied to cause the injury. So how fast were they going? What kind of vehicle were they in? What side of the vehicle got hit what hit their vehicle. Did their vehicle come to a sudden stop by hitting a bridge, or did they roll down an embankment? Did they get hit with an F-550 truck or a Prius? Had a friend of mine working in the ER at Memorial, had a guy come in that they said got ran over by a car in a parking lot and couldn't find any injuries, and finally figured out that it was a Prius that ran over him, and he didn't have any injuries. So, kind of understanding how kinematics, or the study of injury patterns, happens, so you kind of understand what kind of injuries a person's going to have. So we're looking at this kind of front impact. This one looks like it was rolled over. Look at the windshield. Look at the interior of the car. Look at the seat belts. Were they on the patient? Were they not? Were the airbags deployed? So we're kind of gathering all the information we can about what forces may have impacted our patient. Motor vehicle collisions, we're mainly concerned about head-on collisions because of so much force. You have two vehicles going the same direction with all the force. You're either going to have an up and over or down and under injury pattern. Depends on whether they have a seatbelt and an airbag. If they are not wearing a seatbelt and they have an airbag, they typically go down and under. If they're not wearing a seatbelt but they don't have an airbag, or the airbag doesn't deploy for some reason, they're going to go up and over and through the windshield. But knowing these different mechanisms, you can kind of tell if a person had a seatbelt on. If they have their face prints on the windshield, but they swear they were wearing a seatbelt, you know somebody's lying to you. Here's the airbags deployed. Something else on the safety side with airbags: if you have an airbag that has not deployed, do not place yourself directly in front of that airbag until they get them completely disconnected. They can deploy at any time on you, and we don't want to get hit in the back of the head with one of those and cause more damage to you. This is called starring the windshield. That is, if it's pushing outward, it's the head or something in the passenger compartment that hit the windshield from the inside. Coming from the outside in, they hit something got dropped off a bridge, they hit an animal and kind of pushed the window in. So you got a clue that some impact occurred there. Other mechanisms we're worried about is rear end collision, because you've got two vehicles, you don't have as much force, but you have the sudden jolt forward and then typically a type of stop when they hit their brakes or they hit something else in front of them. So you've got a couple different coup, contra coup injury patterns there. Side impacts or T-bones. These are one of the more dangerous ones, because think about how much steel or metal is between you and the other car from a front end or a rear end collision versus a side impact. You've got about 6 inches of steel between you and the other car if they hit you in the side. Rollover collisions are the worst because they have a combination of all the above: front, rear, side impacts, and the rotational spin. These are a lot of times these are the people that are thrown from the vehicles because they don't have a seatbelt on. So that makes it even worse when they're ejected from the safe passenger compartment and then they get bounced on by the car. This is definitely a rear end collision. Notice that the back wheels are pushed up underneath where the back passenger seat would be. So that's a problem for us, and we're looking at the mechanism there. Lateral impact, you see the impact to the side there. That's not good for the passengers. And here's the rollover impact. That one you could probably just flip over, put it back on its wheels, and it'd probably run still. But the mechanism of rolling back and forth can be a problem for us. Sometimes we have cars that stay on their wheels but have the rotational impact. You have points of contact 360 degrees around your patient inside the car. Falls we're concerned about. Adults more than 15 to 20 feet are dangerous. Children under 15, more than 10 feet, or 2 to 3 times the height of the child, or if you've got an adult that's short, 2 to 3 times the height of their height. What else we're looking for on falls is what did they fall on? If you fell onto the grass or the dirt, that's a little bit better than falling on the concrete. If you fell onto the boards next to him, that'd be even worse because it kind of bent him backwards. The other thing you've got to worry about is where the hammer is. Typically, a worker has hammer in the back of his tool belt. So is that laying underneath the patient? Did he fall on something that could be more dangerous than the actual impact? So how far did he fall? What surface did he land on? What body part hit first? And how did they crumple when they got on the ground? Another type of mechanism of injury we're concerned about are penetrating traumas. Any anything that went through the body and caused damage as it went through. So we're looking for how much force that it went through, what kind of object it was. Was it a bullet? Was it a knife? Was it a piece of rebar? And how deep did it go? Looking at knives, how deep was the blade? Was it serrated? Was it a steak knife? Was it a sharper knife? Thinking about what it is. If it's a weapon, know somebody that on scene that might know more about weapons than you do. Probably law enforcement. So start asking questions. What kind of gun it was. Low velocity. We're looking at the knives. Usually it's pretty limited to where it went in. But if they moved the knife around while it was inside, that could cause more problems. Medium velocity for handguns, high velocity for rifles. You have the direct damage from the projectile. Knowing what kind of weapon it was, what kind of ammunition it was, kind of gives you a clue on what kind of potential. And there's also pressure related, so it's called cavitation. As the projectile goes into the body, the force is transmitted in a cone shape through the body tissue as it goes out the backside. So the front side's a small hole, the back side's a larger hole because of the pressure wave that's pushing the tissue outward. Blunt force trauma, something strikes the body, either another body part, a bat, something that causes damage underneath the skin. Sometimes it's not evident as you look at the skin through bruising or anything like that. It's more evident by just knowing the mechanism. Nature of illness is a little bit more complicated, but it's you can start with why did you want to call EMS today? And I usually throw into today because somebody's going to say I've been having chest pain for 2 weeks, or I've been having this pain in my back for a month. What got to the point of calling 911 today? Why did it get, why do you think it got worse, or what's making you want to call 911? Sometimes you have a combination patient. Is this a trauma or is this a medical? Trying to figure out what's going on, so you're asking questions. Did you have a medical emergency and then fall off the bike, or did you fall off the bike and have a medical emergency? So you got to do a little investigation here and little detective work. Maybe look for other sources besides the patient. Talk to family members and bystanders. What's going on around them? What's going to help? From the scene, what do you see around them? And you look around for your own safety, and you're noticing other things like they've got an oxygen concentrator. They've got a mile of oxygen tubing wrapped around the house. That gives you some clues on what may be going on. Ask questions. How many patients are present? How many people are there that might need your care? Maybe the family needs extra care because it's a stressful situation for them too. So you might want to call an extra ambulance just to help you manage the number of bystanders or family members. So think about what resources you have and get the right number. You can always send them back if you get too many. But if you get to don't have enough and you're overwhelmed, then it gets even worse for you. So sources of help. Know your local resources. Do you have fire department resources? Do you have specialized rescue companies? Do you have wildland companies? Do you have hazardous materials groups? Do you have ambulance transports or tactical medical? So know what resources you have out there. Do you have air medical resources? We're lucky here in Colorado Springs. We have 2 medical helicopters that we can use anytime. We have several rescue boats. They're not in the water at the time, but they can be in the water fairly quickly. And then we have military assets that we can ask for if we get to the point of being overwhelmed that we have no other civilian resources left. The military will come off post and offer help. So going back to our assessment pyramid here, we just talked about the scene size up, knowing, is it safe? Do I have enough or do I have the safety equipment I need? How many patients do I have? What's the mechanism of injury or nature or illness? And how do I get extra resources? So think about that, and as always, come to class with any questions you have. Thank you.